To begin tonight's program, we'll begin with a recitation of the Holy Quran. I'm going to invite Brother Mahdi Naqvi to come and recite. Salawat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin.
Thank you, Brother Mahdi. I will now invite Brother Murtaza Naqvi to continue reciting the Quran. Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أنزل الله عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه عبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجائلون ما عليها سعيدا جروزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا ادعوا الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم وربتنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شتتا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Jazakallah. Thank you, Murtaza. I will now invite Brother Fazl Naqvi for Ziyarat Ashura. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت. ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وعزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم. ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن صالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان. ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبا. ولعن الله ابن مرجان. ولعن الله عمر بن سعد. ولعن الله شمرا. ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي. لقد عظم مصابي بك. فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثأري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يؤتيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يؤتي مصابا بمصيبتي مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض اللهم اجعلني في مقام هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه اللهم فضائف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب العليم اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر طابئ له على ذلك اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم العنهم جميعا السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت، وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وأمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذي بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Please recite aloud salawat. I will now invite Brother Ali Naqvi, Brother Sajjad Rizvi, and Brother Murtaza Naqvi for Marsiya. Salawat.
Surah Fatiha. کربو بلا میں ختم جو شہ کا سفر ہوا، اور نظم کائنات کا زیر و زبر ہوا. ہر ایک دل پارنج و علم کا اثر ہوا. آئی ندا حسین کا برباد گر ہوا. ویرانیوں سے دشت کی وحشت برستی تھی، اور ایسی اجار وادی تھی دہشت برستی تھی. اور کلثوم بے حواس تھی، زینب تھی بے قرار. فرماتی تھیں یہ شاہ سے گھبرا کے بار بار، او اے جان فاطمہ تیری بہن تیرے نثار. او اپنا بھی ان میں ہے کوئی بھائی وفا شعار. اور فرماتے تھے حسین ہمارا کوئی نہیں، ٹوٹے ہوئے دلوں کا سہارا کوئی نہیں. اور زینب یہ بولی بھائی لکھو خط حبیب کو، کوئی تو جانثار ہمارے بھی ساتھ ہو، اور لکھنا کہ اہل بیت پیغمبر کا ساتھ دو، اور کھانا وہاں جو کھاؤ تو پانی یہاں پیو، او ہے وقت امتحان یہ محمد کی آل پر، احسان آ کے تم کرو زہرا کے لال پر، اور ایک روز کھانا کھاتے تھے زوجہ کے ساتھ حبیب، ناگاہ در پا آ کے پکارا کوئی نقیب، بولے حبیب دیکھیے دکھلائے کیا نصیب، اور اس وقت کون آیا ہے یہ بات ہے عجیب، اس وقت کون آیا ہے یہ بات ہے عجیب، اور آنے سے اس کے خاتمہ ہے دل کے چین کا، بولا نقیب آیا ہے قاصد حسین کا، کرب و بلا میں ختم صلوات۔
Salawat. As you all know, we have started a Slido Q&A page. The details of the Slido, the link is posted in the English WhatsApp group chat, and it's also posted on the Shah-E-Najaf Youth Instagram account. If you are in neither of these, or you want to be added to them, please come see either me or Brother Fazl after the majlis. We will gladly add you to them. Also, we have decided on the questions that will be posted in the Slido. There will be a certain day picked out. After the majlis, there will be a Q&A session here with Sayyid, our guest scholar, and that's when most of these questions will be answered. The date is still to be decided. We're looking for volunteers to help us out with reciting. As you guys know, we do, there's the recitation of the Holy Quran. We have Salam, Naha, and we have Marsiya. So if you would like to participate in any of these, please ask either me or Brother Ali Naqvi. We will gladly add you to our list. We thank all of the sponsors who have helped make these English programs possible. If anyone wishes to donate for either this program or programs in the future, please let me or Brother Ali Naqvi know. Your donations are greatly appreciated. I will now invite our guest scholar, Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, to the minbar. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're trying to strengthen our identity, to reaffirm it. And in order to do so, we have to go back to all of these questions that form our identity, which are where we come from, what do we do while we're here, where are we now, and where do we go after this. So we're going piece by piece to try to re-examine them, maybe take a deeper dive, and make sure we have proper yaqeen and certainty in these identity questions. Last night we opened up the first and most important thing in our deen, which is tawheed. And we talked about how many of us have just learned tawheed to be monotheism, oneness of God, just believing that there's only one God and not more than one. And that's fine, and that's good, but it's too easy. And that there's a lot more depth to tawheed, which we went through. We said even just based on the Arabic grammar itself, that tawheed, based on that form, has to be in action. Tawheed is not just a thought, an idea, it's practical. Tawheed is trying to unify all of reality and see it from Allah's eyes, see it through His eyes, see it through His perspective. To make sure we don't make the same mistake as shaitan and start to disconnect things from Allah, from His wishes, from His irada, from His desire and His command. So now we'll continue on the topic of tawheed. Inshallah, if you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There's a lot of different angles that we can talk about for tawheed. The way that we talked about it and kind of attacked it last night was to see that there is more depth left for tawheed. And for many of us, that maybe hopefully was helpful, inshallah, and maybe strengthened us a little bit. But there are still some more essential and fundamental questions about tawheed that actually we should have gone through first, even before that discussion yesterday. Because we can talk about tawheed all night right now. We can spend a whole Ashra series talking about the depths and the different sifat and the names of Allah. There's a lot we can talk about. But at the onset, if I don't have a basic idea about Allah and about tawheed, then all this fancy, deep, philosophical, metaphysical, irfani stuff is not really going to matter much. It's actually going to be harmful. So what is this basic stuff? Even if you look at the words of the Ahlul Bayt and how they speak about the way we're supposed to strengthen and come to understand our deen, see how they emphasize things. Look at, for example, right there in the famous first khutbah mentioned in Nahjul Balagha of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In the first part, he praises Allah, hamd and thana, and mentions Allah's qualities. And then he begins saying this, Awwaluddin ma'rifatuhu. The first part, the primary, foremost part of deen is what? Is ma'rifah of Allah. That's it. That's the beginning part. But no, again, we can toss out fancy words like ma'rifah, but like, okay, what is that? But Imam, in this part of the khutbah, continues, right? وَكَمَالُ مَعْرِفَتِهِ. And that peak, the perfection of that ma'rifah of Allah is what? التصديق به. Is doing tasdeeq of Allah. Now what does tasdeeq mean? Tasdeeq comes from sidq, being sadiq, sidaqat. This means telling the truth, right? Truth. Or another way to understand it is affirming the reality of tawheed. We want to put it very simply, is the easiest form of tawheed, which is just believing that Allah is there in the first place. The kama that Imam Ali is talking about, perhaps in this part, is just saying, you have to affirm and certify and really understand that, yes, Allah is there. There is this reality out there. Call Him God, Allah, whatever word we're using. Obviously, as Muslims, we use Allah. And anybody who speaks Arabic, even if they're not Muslim, they still use the word Allah. That's true and that's real. And for every religion, monotheistic religions, ones that believe in one God, that is the beginning. That should be the first part of it, right? And you see a lot of religions sometimes gloss over it. Even you and I, we miss over that part sometimes. We do take it for granted. And there's reasons why, which inshallah in a few minutes we'll start to open up why that's the case. Imam continues even beyond that. وَكَمَالُ تَصْدِيقِ بِهِ, that perfection, the kamal of affirming and recertifying and understanding that yes, Allah does exist and He is real, in His التصديق به توحيده, that in order to really understand and gain that ma'rifah of Allah, I have to understand that tawheed, which again we went in a deeper way last night, but the beginning part of it we want to open up tonight, meaning just understanding that superficial version that we've all been trying to understand since we were kids. Allah ek, God is one. Like, okay, we got it, but how far did we actually understand that point? What kamalu tawheedihi, that perfection in understanding Allah's tawheed is what? Ikhlas lah. Giving Allah this pure understanding. Right? Ikhlas meaning purity. Having this proper understanding and really devoting yourself to Allah. Right? That's what it means. If I actually do believe that there is God, that there is an Allah, and I really do believe that, then of course I'm going to act as if. Right? But as we said in our first identity questions, a lot of us, we gloss over the fact, we forget the fact that we actually believe in Allah, and we end up not acting as if Allah exists. That's the problem. So of course the khutbah is a much longer khutbah, it continues, but that's the only part that we wanted to focus on. Now, again, many of you might say, but no, I believe in Allah, this is not for me. You know, I've heard this kind of stuff before. I have iman in Allah. I believe that He exists. Right? It's other stuff that I'm confused about. But Allah knows that there's going to be a lot of us who make this claim. There was people back at the time of the Ahlul Bayt who made this claim as well too. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa had initially began spreading and preaching Islam, people say, okay, yeah, we believe in you. Amanna billah. We believe in Allah. You're telling us about the Quran, the Day of Judgment. We believe in all of that, no problem. Okay, what's next? But Allah says, look, don't go so fast. You're saying this, but you actually don't believe in it. And it comes in many places, just one small place. In Surah Baqarah, second chapter, or second surah, ayah number 8. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّ بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. There, from among people, there are people who say what? آمَنَّ بِاللَّهِ. I have iman in Allah. I believe in Allah. وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. And I know where I'm going after that too. I believe in the Day of Judgment. And Allah says very clearly at the end of this ayah, وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. But they're not mu'mineen. We can say all we want, but we're actually not mu'mineen. It's very easy to claim this. Allah's saying, no, we're probably fooling ourselves. So what we want to try to do is really make sure that we fall within this category of mu'mineen. Well, what is that? Well, we've already talked about it, but just so you see that it's from the words of the Ahlul Bayt, I'll share a very short, beautiful hadith from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Where he's reported to have said, Al-Islam iqrar bila amal. Islam, or being a Muslim, is what? Is doing iqrar, meaning you just say a bunch of stuff. I believe in Allah, I believe in the Quran, I believe in the angels, I believe in jinn, I believe in the Day of Judgment, Imams. I believe in all this stuff. So I can say that. But bila amal, but I don't really act upon it. You can be a Muslim like that, right? There are many people out there right now who call themselves Muslims, but they have zero level of practice. But technically they're still a Muslim because at least they claim outwardly that they believe in this stuff. They can do every single sin, every guna, every ma'asiyah, they can do all of it. And technically, they're still a Muslim, and we have to treat them as such, right? But the Imam says, that's Islam. Wal iman iqrar bil amal. But iman is different. Iman is higher than that. Iman is when you say, you testify, you say, this is what I believe, and I back it up with my actions too. I say that I believe in Allah, and I act as I believe in Allah. I say that I believe in the Quran, and I act according to the teachings of the Quran. I say that I believe that there's a thaqalain, that the Ahlul Bayt never separate from the Quran, and I act according to the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. I act according to the fact that the Ahlul Bayt trained scholars, ulama, and these ulama, their teachings passed down to us right now, and I act according to that. And that's why I do taqleed, and I believe in the system of wilayah, because I believe in all this, and I act as if. That's what iman actually means. And yes, even within iman, there are different degrees and levels, but that's outside of our discussion tonight, so I'll leave that maybe for some other another lecture, inshallah. That's what we're trying to get to, right? We're trying to get to a point that the Ahlul Bayt, the Quran was telling us, you and I are probably stuck in a place where we're saying Islam, we might call ourselves mu'mineen. Allah says, you're not there yet. Because you and I know through our actions, no, I'm not there yet. If we're being honest, no, I probably don't have any iman at all because of how much I'm going against what Allah is actually saying. So now, we're going to try to strengthen that iman, as we said, by going back to these fundamental ideas. Now, let's go back and strengthen this idea of tawheed, inshallah. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We have to realize too, Islam is the only religion, the only ideology, the only philosophy out there which actually focuses on someone's relationship with Allah and God. No other religion out there does this. And you might say, it doesn't make sense. There are other people who believe in God, and God is the beginning of the religion, right? And they have prophets and stuff. Like, no. Look at even at the names of all the different religions that are out there. Look at Judaism, right? Judaism, based on the idea of Judea or Judah. Judah is the Hebrew/Latinized name for who? The son of which prophet? Nabi Yaqub had how many children? 12? 12 children. One of them was, in Hebrew, or again, the Latinized version, it's called Judah, and we would say Yehuda, right, basically. So he was one of the children, and then that's where you get this line of Banu Israel, right? Israel is another name that was given to Nabi Yaqub, to Jacob. So the Jewish faith, or Judaism, is based, and there's different opinions among rabbinical scholars, but it's either talking about a tribe that extended from this person, right, this quote-unquote prophet Judah, or person Judah, from whose father is Nabi Yaqub, or the land or area of Judea. Right? So it's either geographical or it's based on an individual. There's no God in their even in the name of that religion. You go to Christianity, you might say, okay, but they believe that Christ, na'udhu billah, is God. Like, yeah, but that's still not the Father. They're talking about the Son, so they're still talking about a human form. So Christianity is talking about a human being. So even in their name, has nothing to do with God necessarily. You talk about other things. Hinduism. Again, various opinions there too, but Hindustan, right? It's talking about an area. And Hindustan basically comes from the idea of Sindh, right? That area that most of you know. So it's talking about a geographical area. There's no mention of any one of the gods really, right? And again, some say that that area of Sindh was the property of one of their gods, and that's why they use that name. Why don't you use that God's name in your religion? Why would you use the land? Why is that so important to you? Buddhism, an individual, right? Any religion, any ideology you look at, there's no God even in their name. We are the only ones. Muslims are the only ones where we say Islam. We believe in Al-Islam. Al-Islam means what? No, do not say peace. You're going to trigger me. Don't say peace. You know, sometimes that happens with the modern Muslim, right? Everything about our religion is just peace and tolerance, right? Whenever they want to go interfaith, right? Islam means peace. What does Salam mean? Salam means peace. What is Muslim? Someone who says peace. Why? Not everything's peace, man. It's not like that all the time. Okay, salam, yes, technically means peace. But Islam does not mean peace. Right? It's related to it, but that's not the meaning. What is the meaning of Islam? Submission, surrender, right? To who? To Allah. It's talking about one's relationship with Allah. It's complete submission, complete surrender. That's what we're supposed to do. So what is a Muslim? A person who's practicing Islam, meaning I am actively trying my best to surrender and to submit to what Allah wants. That's what a Muslim's saying. This is different than what other people have tried to accuse us of. Look, most of you might have seen this, right? Sometimes they discuss this in like your social studies classes too. In Europe, or even over here, the quote-unquote founding fathers, whenever other people, Europeans, basically white people, when they talk about Muslims, they wouldn't call us Muslims. What would they call us? They call us Muhammadans. They're like, yeah, so everybody else, they name themselves after a prophet or an area, we'll call them the same thing. But the Muslims would come and say, no, we're not named after our book, we're not named after our prophet, nothing like that. We are named after one's relationship to Allah, that's it. Don't start, changing our deen, even the name of our deen based on that. Even, what's interesting, now this might be a moot point, but for me, when I was younger, this mattered to me a lot. It's Muslim, right? That's the way everybody, at least all of us, should be pronouncing it. But how does everybody else pronounce it? Muslim, all this other stuff too, right? And there's a theory out there. Now, take it with a grain of salt. There's a theory that one person proposed that although in English you can easily say the word Muslim, right? I had a bunch of non-Muslim friends, and when I told them how to pronounce it, they're like, okay, we'll do that, no problem. You can do it. It's not like a strange sound. You can say and pronounce it using English, right? What's the word? Phenotypes. You can say Muslim. It's not difficult. But what do? Muslim. And it's a way for us to kind of take away our izzat a little bit, right? It's like, we're not going to say your stuff, right? We don't care. And what do? Put our heads down, non-confrontational brown people walking around like, okay, what is this, a bee? What's going on over here, man? Oh, it's a fly. It's okay. Right? Even this fly doesn't want to show me any respect. Look how... And we just don't care. We don't correct anybody. We don't bother. Yeah, I'm Ali. I'm Mohammed, man. Whatever. Just, I don't want to start any trouble. Just call me whatever you want. It's okay. You can call me Mo if you want. Okay, whatever you want, right? We have no pride. Look at other cultures. They don't do stuff like this, right? If it's in Spanish or Italian, they make sure people, they'll pronounce it at least right themselves in front of other people. But we, unfortunately, sometimes we don't have that pride and iftikhar. We hide ourselves. Even in this, trust me, I grew up as Hasan. I know that, right? Nobody would say Hasan, and I would correct them constantly, but I'm like, you know what, I gave up after a point, because I was a kid, and what was I going to do? But now, somebody calls, they ask, oh, am I speaking with Hasan? I'm like, no, you're speaking with Hasan. Hasan? I'm like, no, I said it right. You did. Am I saying it right? No, you're not, but thanks for trying, right? It's okay to be a little arrogant sometimes. We can have some pride in the way that our name should be pronounced. Even Muslim, again, the theory I was talking about. Muslim is very close to Mazlum, isn't it? It's kind of close. And there are certain groups out there that know that there is an effect. Whenever words are used, whenever somebody's name is used, a way to belittle them is to make sure you don't give them the credit, give them their due, and pronounce it properly. Right? It hurts a little bit. So sometimes people just don't make the time of day. They don't care enough, so they said, well, pronounce it however we want. You see, no, other people don't allow that, but somehow we have allowed people to do that. And we shouldn't do that. We should have a bit more pride. Inshallah ta'ala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We're not oppressed. We're not Muslim. We're Muslim. We're ones we've chosen. We're using our own free will, and we're submitting to Allah. Okay. Now let's go back to our point here. So in Islam, we're talking about this central relationship to Allah. We're supposed to submit and surrender. So okay, surrender, submit to Allah. In other societies, where for many of you, most of our parents emigrated or immigrated from, or many of you where you were born and raised, right? In the East, India, Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, wherever you came from. Over there, this question about Allah and Tawheed was never asked, right? It was, okay, Allah ek, there's one God, let's move on to the rest. And that was it. And there was a reason for why that's the case. Why? Because it wasn't a society full of, number one, if you grew up in a Muslim country, it's majority Muslim. You don't have to ask questions about the basics in Islam because that's what everybody else is. So your identity is not really being questioned. Right? Nobody's questioning you about why you believe in Allah because everybody else believes in Allah and everybody else believes in God. So you move on. Okay, no problem. It's a given. You say it's musallam, right? Musallam also comes from salam. Doesn't mean peace, by the way. It means it's obvious. Everybody gets it. Okay. But then what happened is we came over here to the West. I don't know how many of you regret that or not. I'm bringing your families here. But you and I, those of us who were born and raised here, we're here. And now we walk around fake proud about, yes, I'm a Muslim, I believe in Allah. And now people are like, you believe in some like invisible sky fairy? What's wrong with you? You believe in a God? Like, come on, there's no evidence for that. Why do you believe in this stuff? What are you doing? Why are you fasting for 30 days? Why are you wearing black and going out and crying? What's wrong with you? Why you read this book? You don't even know what it says. Why are you reading this stuff? This stuff was 1,400 years ago. Why are you wasting your time? This is the stuff that people are saying. Before, it only happened among those who are older, right? Sometimes amongst colleagues and friends and stuff. Then it started to seep down younger and younger. In college it happens. Professors will challenge their students. I've seen it happen myself, right? Because if you're an atheist professor, you're going to push your own ideas out. That's what they want to do, right? And then it even came down, and now it exists within high schools and middle schools, right? Because the amount of atheism has been growing, some would argue exponentially, year after year after year. There was a time in the West where atheism was the minority. They were one of the least trusted groups in America. Nobody would trust an atheist. They don't believe in anything, so why would you trust them? But now you see that they are the normal ones. We are the ones who are laughed at all the time. Muslims and anybody who believes in any sort of religion or God or metaphysics or supernatural stuff. We're the ones that are laughed at. And then what happens is that people will come and question us, right? So why do you believe in this stuff? What's your evidence? What's your scientific proof? Give me some logic, some reasoning. Come on, that's the way the world works. And what can you and I do? Kind of shrivel up a little bit. Say, I don't know, that's just what my parents told me. I mean, I went to Sunday school and they told me that God is there, right? That, that there's all this stuff out in the world and it must be from God. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. And then that one arrogant teacher or professor or friend or classmate or colleague will push. It's like, really? It makes sense? Come on, man. You're an educated person. Like, you're studying this. Haven't you read basic, evolutionary theory? Don't you understand that? Don't you know what the Big Bang Theory is? Don't you understand string theory, quantum mechanics? Like, this is what tells and describes the world. What is all this nonsense you're talking about? That people ages ago made up because they didn't know what was going on. Science has told us all this stuff now. You don't need this. And sometimes people, because of that weakness in Iman, they start to maybe they're right. Maybe we won't say it out loud, but it creeps at us, right? It starts to strip away that whatever little belief we might have had. And sometimes it's because, man, I wish I had a way to respond. Sometimes we try to go, maybe we ask our parents or Sunday school teachers or anybody that we might think has some religious knowledge, and sometimes you get an answer that's useful, but as I shared with you a few nights ago, when I was a kid, I didn't get the useful answers, right? I got some fake bouncing ball off the wall answer, which made no sense at all. So a lot of us, all of these actual arguments that exist, that our philosophers, our ulama have listed in books generation after generation after generation, a lot of us haven't even heard these things. The rest of the philosophical world, in reality, they are the ones who are actually the underdogs, meaning they can't understand our proofs because they haven't bothered researching it. And we have ended up following a lot of them. Haqq, logic, reason, everything's on our side, but sometimes we can't formulate the argument properly, right? And when we can't formulate it, we can't think about it, we don't know what to say, then again, we just lose our iman little by little, and then we sit with it, we don't ask questions, we don't research, we don't get the right answers, so we just start to grow up, get older and older, and our actions are going to line up with that, right? Because maybe God's there, maybe He's not. Maybe He cares if I pray, maybe He doesn't. I don't know. So of course that's going to affect whether we pray on time or not. Of course it's going to affect when my parents say, just read one page of Quran, read 5 ayat a day. We're like, what's the point? Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't even know if there's an Allah in the first place. Right? Imam Ali was saying, you have to at least do tasdeeq, know that He's there, affirm it. It's got to be a part of your reality. No different than when we say 1 + 1 is 2, nobody's going to deny that here. But a lot of you might say, okay, God being there, I don't equate it with 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2, I know that that's true. But Allah existing and Allah being one, I don't have that same amount of belief in Allah existing and Him being one as I do in 1 + 1 is 2. And that's a problem. So that's what we want to try to delve a bit more deeply into, inshallah. I want to share one story in the past as well to show us that this is not just a modern issue as well. This did exist during the time of the Ahlul Bayt too. So I want to share this short story that happened during the time of our sixth Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. There were atheists during that time too. Right? They had their own philosophical school, they had their own teachers, and they would travel and debate and do all of this, right? There's a famous companion that I'm sure many of you may have heard of before, Mufaddal ibn Umar, right? A very famous companion of our Imams, especially the sixth Imam, Mufaddal ibn Umar. So he narrates himself in this very, very long narration. He says, one day I went to Masjid al-Nabi, Masjid al-Nabawi, and I was there to do ziyarah, doing my ibadah, right? In the presence of Rasulullah, right? In Masjid al-Nabi. He's narrating, I'm trying to focus, I'm trying to do this ibadah and make this connection. He says, and then these two individuals walk in and they sit far away from me. They're not next to me, but they're within earshot, meaning Mufaddal says, I can hear what they're talking about. He says, I'm trying to focus on my own ibadah, but I can hear what they're saying. So who were these two individuals? One of them was this individual named Ibn Ali Auja. He was basically the head of the atheist believers, the atheists, at that point. So he came in along with one of his students. So they both sit down at Masjid al-Nabi. Now again, you might be thinking, what are they doing there? But it's a different discussion about the nature of culture and things like that too, right? Anyway, they're both there. So now they begin speaking to one another. Ibn Ali Auja, this head of the atheist school of thought at that time, is speaking. And Mufaddal is trying to focus on his ziyarah, on his du'as and all this stuff, but he can't help but overhear what this atheist is saying. So Ibn Ali Auja is saying, man, he's, again, they're at Masjid al-Nabi, so he's in the presence of Rasulullah. And Ibn Ali Auja is like, man, this guy Muhammad, what a trick he played. What a game he played. How crafty, how wise he was in giving this fake information and tricking people. Right? Pulling a sheet over their eyes, giving them this false information about God and all this. Taking all for what? Look, now they're saying his name, right, 5 times a day in this announcement that they make for prayer. Look at him, his name is shouted now. Man, this guy was really smart. Right? And what a game, what a trick he played. So now Mufaddal's sitting there, and he's hearing all of this, and his face is getting red, right? He's getting angry. Now you tell me, any of the average one of us, or maybe an average uncle, sitting, if they heard something like this when they were in Karbala, or if you were in Medina or something, what would you do? You'd be enraged too. You'd probably get up and go and scream at them, and that's exactly what Mufaddal did. He got up, he broke his ibadah, he ran over and started screaming at him. Right? Like, oh, you kafirs, what's wrong with you? Don't you know that Allah is obvious? How could you not understand this? And screaming them and berating them. And Ibn Ali Auja and the other, his students, just sitting there very calmly. And he waits for his tirade to finish. Mufaddal finishes kind of screaming, right? Yelling at him. Ibn Ali Auja looks at him and says, wait, who are you? Like, who's your teacher? Like, who are you? He says, my teacher's Ja'far ibn Muhammad. Ja'far as-Sadiq. He's like, no. He's like, that's not your teacher. He's like, that teacher that you claim is your teacher, I've sat with him before. He's like, he doesn't act like this. It's like, when I go to him, I go to learn. When I go to him, I sit down, he greets me warmly, I sit in his presence, he lets me say everything that I want to say, giving all these arguments, he listens intently, he makes sure that he understood what I'm saying, and then he responds to me in a very well thought out way, so I have something to think about, and I learn. He does it with proper akhlaq and proper knowledge. He says, if that's your teacher, you need to go back, because I don't think you've learned a thing. And now Mufaddal is like, oh man, he just got shut down. So then the rest of this, he gets up, and then basically runs to Imam Sadiq and tells him what happened. He's like, I sat there, this is what happened, and I didn't know what to say. I got flustered, I said all of this, I didn't know what arguments to bring and how I'm supposed to actually prove that God exists. And the rest of this narration is basically the Imam giving him a whole list of different types of proofs and ideas. So this whole narration has actually been translated in English too. You can probably find it on Al-Islam, right? It's called Tawheed al-Mufaddal, right? So you can find it online as well too. And so the story basically is there. And again, in every book, the story is slightly different, but I'm giving you one version that's been narrated. But what's important for us to remember over here too is this. You and I are probably going to be questioned about, I'd say, almost all of our beliefs. By atheists, we're going to be questioned about God. Not just about God's existence, but about His qualities, sifat. And inshallah, in the coming nights, we're going to be talking about the justice of Allah too, right? Adl ilahi. That's one of the biggest questions, right? The problem of good and evil, right? We get questioned about that all the time. We'll get questioned about people about why we believe in the Quran. We're going to be questioned by people about why we believe in prophets, people that we've never seen ever before. We're going to be questioned by people, especially Sunnis, about why do you believe in these imams? Why do you believe that they have this ilm al-ghayb and these powers and all this stuff? You never met them, you have no idea. Well, why are you part of this weird deviant sect? What's going on? Why do you believe in all this stuff? We're going to be questioned about this, Azadari, we're still questioned to this day. Every single thing we do, we're going to be questioned about. And do we always have the answer? No, right? A lot of us, we try, but sometimes we don't have the answer. And we try our best to hopefully have the information. But sometimes what we end up doing is when somebody confronts us, when somebody's aggressive, they attack us with this stuff, what do? We attack back, right? We pounce back on them, just like Mufaddal did. Screaming, yelling, ad hominem, right? Insults and things like that. This is not the way of the Ahlul Bayt. This is not the way that the companions of the Ahlul Bayt ever talk to people properly. So there's two qualities that if you and I ever want to engage somebody and actually talk to them, debate them, whatever word you want to use, there's two qualities you need. Number one is, actually you need to have some ilm. You have to have some level of knowledge. And look, I know that a lot of the knowledge that you and I get, especially as followers of the Ahlul Bayt, is what? Is from sitting where you are right now. At the minbar, right? Listening to various speakers and ulama come and deliver lectures, majalis, whatever it is. Whether it's Thursday nights, Jum'ah, Muharram, all the way through the Ayam of Azab, Ramadan, all the other seasons basically that we have. But sometimes, and you have to understand this too, right? I'm already at, like 31 minutes. Right? It's obviously, temperature in here is killing us all, I know that, right? There's only so much focus that you and I have. So how much information is actually going to be disseminated in a gathering like this? It's not going to be much. We can't have a proper class here, not a proper seminar or workshop, so there's only so much we can do. And there's not every single speaker that's going to come that wants to actually transmit and deliver information in the first place. Some just want to talk about fazail, which has its own place and benefit, without a doubt. Some will talk about history, which may or may not be the questions that you and I have, right? We talked about this in the first night. Some will give us akhlaqi reminders, which we do need as well, but that's not going to help me when somebody else comes questioning me about my belief. So it's, just being somebody, the only way that I learn is sitting at the minbar is definitely not enough. Right? That's not enough. Maybe you sign up for online classes or you're reading books, that's great, right? But we have to have proper knowledge. And it's always good to realize that there's a lot of other people out there who probably have at least a little bit, sometimes a lot more knowledge than you and I. A lot of these atheists, with just a bit of information, can probably debate you and I and make us feel like fools for believing in God. It happens. I've seen Muslims, right? I've seen debates, right? I've watched a lot of these different debates between Muslims and atheists, between atheists and other, Christians and Jews and things like this, anybody who believes in God. I've seen people in sessions try to debate about issues. People just don't have the knowledge, and they just come up with random ideas. If you don't have the knowledge, just don't say anything. It's very simple. There's this idea, maybe you've heard this before. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This might be controversial, but hopefully you understand the point. Some of us have been told that we're all ambassadors of Islam. We're representatives. Right? We have to represent Tashayyu and Shi'ism. Humbly, I disagree with that. What do you mean that we're ambassadors? If I don't have proper information about this stuff, how am I going to convince anybody that the path of the Ahlul Bayt is the right one? I'm not an ambassador. If I don't have the information, I shouldn't self-appoint myself as an ambassador. That I'm going to go carry the flag and do all this. No. In fact, a lot of the times, again, I've sat through a lot of these discussions and debates. Even between two Shias, I've seen this stuff happen. Is that in the midst of their discussion and argument and debate, they both end up losing out because neither know what they're talking about, and they both end up losing because of it. They lose information. People get dumber because of it. You start arguing with somebody about some point, you don't know what you're talking about, so then this atheist or this Sunni or this person, whoever we end up being confronted by, they're going to be like, man, these religious people are a joke. These Shias are a joke. They don't know what they're talking about. We heard an ayah of Quran in a lecture, so then this is why one of my friends put it, is that sometimes we like to use the Quran like as a shotgun, right? We load up ayat that are convenient, like, take that, Sunni, yeah, I got you. They'll throw it right back at us like, what are you talking about? These are the opinions among the different ulama. Where'd you get that idea from? And this word in Arabic means that. Like, I don't know, man. This is... Right? Ayat-e-tathir. You can't just keep saying it over and over again, right? That's not going to work. You don't think Sunnis have seen Ayat-e-tathir? Of course they've seen it too. They have volumes written about Ayat-e-tathir. You and I listening to, a 30, 45-minute lecture, the same one over every single year, is not enough to go and debate some of these ulama. It doesn't work like that. Right? And then we make, Shiism look really bad because of that. So the first thing is, if we don't know, it's okay. It's a great quality, a wonderful quality to say, I don't know. Somebody questions you, say, I don't know. I can point you to somebody who knows, or I can point you to a book, or I can point you to a lecture. We have this alim, yeah, go ahead and ask them, message them, they can answer for you, but I'm just a follower, right? And it's okay to be like that. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't all have to be philosophers and great urafa and scholars. No, that's not the case. Our job is just to submit and follow when we can. Sometimes we know the information, sometimes we don't. But because a lot of us will be pushed and will be questioned, that's why I wanted to go through some of these ideas and proofs. So first quality is, okay, have the knowledge. If you don't, it's okay to say, I don't know. And the second one that, again, Mufaddal failed on is what? Akhlaq. Sometimes you and I might know. You might have read all these different books. Maybe I can prove that God exists. Maybe I can prove the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Maybe I can discuss all of this stuff. I know their books. I can quote ayat of the Quran. I can quote Sunni books. I can do this and that. That's cool. That's great. But if you don't have the akhlaq to back it up, then you should step back too. Look at any of these debates that exist and check. I mean, comments are not a great idea to check, but a lot of people are not actually looking for logical arguments. They pay attention to the style and the mannerisms of speakers and debaters. They say, why was this person so angry? Why were they so fiery? Why were they so aggressive? And even if they were giving all the best arguments, just coming off as aggressive, nobody likes it, right? Even if, let's say, one of you, any of the questions that you have asked, over time, like let's say once we get to that night where we talk about the Slido questions, and I'm like, oh, what kind of question is this? Ah, what a foolish question, and I answer it very aggressively. I can't believe you said this. Here's the answer. We should do better. Even if I give you information that makes sense, you'll be like, but why do you answer it like that? Like, why are you so harsh and aggressive? So it's the emotion that a lot of us feel rather than listening to the logic, right? It's basic Psych 101. Most humans are emotional before intellectual and logical. That's just the way the world works. We are not robots. We're not angels. We usually feel before we think. That's the way it is. Our job is to control that, but by default, a lot of us will feel before we think. Right? And that's why sometimes you hear something controversial, something blasphemous, right? You clench your fist sometimes. You're like, well then, let me calm down and actually hear this person out. Right? We have to learn to calm ourselves down and lower our nafs a little bit, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay. So starting from tomorrow, we're going to jump into these arguments. In order to jump into the argument, right, when people tell us that it's illogical and it's irrational to believe that a God exists. That's what people say, right? No evidence, no scientific evidence, there's no logic, no reason for this. The only way that you can do this is if you have blind faith, right? And that's what Christians and groups like that say, right? We just believe. It's just our faith, that's all it is. And many of us might say things like that too. So what we have to figure out is understand this idea of what does it really mean to be logical and rational and scientific. We're going to try to go through some of those terms, inshallah, and then, assuming we have the time and Allah gives us His tawfiq, we'll give one of the simplest arguments and proofs for Allah's existence. If we have time beyond that, maybe we'll talk about one or two other proofs, right? It just depends, because some of these things, again, they are a bit abstract, can be a bit intense. It might be a bit tough to follow, but again, we'll have to kind of play it by ear and see how it goes, inshallah ta'ala. If Allah gives us tawfiq, that's how we'll continue tomorrow night, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When somebody truly has real belief in Tawheed, they have real ma'rifah of Allah, it's not just something that remains in their heart and just stays there. It's not just some idea that they keep in their mind and they can repeat and parrot back out. Real Tawheed, when it's understood, when it's manifested, is transformative. When you and I and anybody understands Tawheed for what it really is, we really do see Allah in everything, then it should change our lives. Our behavior should change immediately. And not just simple changes like I'll pray and I'll fast. No. Intense, extreme changes, mu'jizat, miracles, right? Supernatural behavior can come because of a person's true ma'rifah of Tawheed. You have individuals. All of these individuals in Karbala are like this. They all have a true ma'rifah of Tawheed, and that's why they're able to give their lives for the sake of Islam, for the sake of Allah's message, for the protection and safety of Imam Hussein. And most of the individuals we see in the battlefield, from the companions, from the family, are these younger soldiers, or these adults. But this one individual you see sticks out and shines amongst everyone else in Karbala. And as we, again, one night by night, go through different personalities and shuhada, last night as we went through Hur, one of the first to give his life that was a companion, not directly related to Bani Hashim, tonight we go through our second and final Sahaba and companion that was not a part of Bani Hashim. Someone who, according to some historians and some narrators, had a 20+ year gap between him and Imam Hussein, 20 years older than Imam Hussein. That when Imam Hussein was just a young child, a young baby, performed an action in front of Rasulullah that made Rasulullah stop what he was doing and bring this personality to himself. Most of you have heard this story before. That Rasulullah was once in the masjid, teaching, giving a khutbah, a sermon, and in the middle of this he stops and he says, bring me this person, bring him to me. This person named Habib ibn Mudahir. He says, bring him to me. So the companions called Habib and brought him. And Rasulullah began hugging him very tightly, began showing him affection, right? Kissing him on the forehead. And the companions, of course, they see this, they say, Ya Rasulullah, why are you showing him so much affection, right? This 20-year-old, this boy, well, why are you showing him, love like this? He says, none of you saw what I saw. You didn't see what I saw him do. He says, my grandson, my Hussein was there crawling and walking in the sand. And as he was going every single footstep, this Habib was following behind Hussein and following each and every one of these footsteps, grabbing the sand behind Hussein. He's like, this is somebody who truly understands the value of my family, truly understands the value of Hussein and the Ahlul Bayt. And this is a love that remained with Habib all throughout his life, as he was one of the greatest companions of Imam Ali. In nearly every single battle, part of his elite force, right? Known as Shurtat al-Khamis. He was part of this elite army and force with Imam Ali, continuing with Imam Hasan. And we come to this time of Imam Hussein, when all of this stuff is happening, when Imam Hussein is still right in Medina, Mecca. We know when the people of Kufa, right, this is where Habib is residing, he's in Kufa. Now, a lot of us, we hear this story about letters, right? That these thousands and thousands of letters were written and sent to Imam Hussein. There's a lot more detail there, which, again, we don't have time right now in the Masa'ib to go through. But know this, not all of the letters came at once. These letters came in different stages. The first group of individuals who sent it, these were the real, true followers of the Ahlul Bayt and lovers of Imam Hussein. Habib was one of the first individuals to sign a letter and send it to Imam Hussein, urging that, yes, I am your supporter, I'm ready to follow, I'm ready to give my life for you, to protect you and your family at all costs. Habib was one of those that Ibn Ziyad la'natullah alayh and his police force were looking for constantly, right? When Ibn Ziyad was spreading propaganda, when he was threatening people, imprisoning people, torturing people, killing people, Habib was on the list. So Habib and other true companions had to make plans to make sure they couldn't have been found. Sometimes moving from place to place, setting up secret plans in case they needed to escape at night. In one version of the story we hear about how Habib made his way to Karbala. One of the versions says that Habib was not initially with Imam Hussein because of the curfew and the sanctions and the control that Ibn Ziyad had in Kufa. So he wasn't able to just go and join the Imam. So he was stuck in Kufa. So one, and some historians and even some poets elaborate on this. They say that when Imam Hussein has reached Karbala, again he's there, Habib is not with him yet. Habib is still in Kufa. We've now moved on, first, second, third, fourth, right? The days to Muharram are adding up. They've already pitched their tents in Karbala. From the 2nd of Muharram, the Ahl Bayt are now in Karbala, they've pitched their tents, they're there. Days are now passing. Now we hear these numbers about the army of Yazid or Umar ibn Asad. But like this as well, not all of these soldiers, these 20, 30, 60, whatever thousands of numbers of soldiers, that also, they didn't come at once. And this was a strategy that was used by soldiers there. They said, we won't all show up at once. What we do is we take one commander at a time. We give them a battalion of maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 soldiers, and we send them one at a time. So they would go and make their way and put their camp, obviously, on the opposite side of Imam Hussein's camp. So day by day, more and more soldiers, thousands and thousands of more, would come and join this enemy camp, right? Joining, and then at the end is when Ubayd ibn Sa'd's camp and Shimr's camp and their battalions came. But one thing that these soldiers would do, one thing that they were ordered to do, that the commanders would order, is that whenever they would pass by, right, this Imam Hussein doesn't have many companions, just a few tents are there. And what do? When you have numbers, you want to instill fear into other people. When you have this brute strength, this evil strength, you want to, instill fear and scare others. So what did they do? As they were getting closer to the camps of Imam Hussein, the commanders would order, start to make your horses gallop, right? Do double time, so that we frighten the children and the women, right? Destroy their morale. So every single commander, all these battalions would come. Thousands of soldiers would be closely passing by, and the children would get afraid every single time. The women would be crying. It's like, look at all these reinforcements that keep coming. And the women, the children would be asking, where's our reinforcements? Where are our supporters? Do we have anybody else that's going to come and join us? And they would ask Imam Hussein, who else do we have that can come and help us out? And Imam Hussein, according to some, says, yes, I have individuals that will come and join us. One of my beloveds, my Habib, my close friend will come and join us, don't worry. And they say that at this point Imam was getting the alams, these flags ready for his commanders as well. And they say that there was 12 that were designed, and one of them was for Habib. And people were saying, but when is he coming? They said, don't worry, he will be here soon. And this is where many stories tell us that Imam Hussein had sent a letter with a messenger at that point, and it had secretly reached Habib at his home. When Habib heard this knock at the door, he was afraid. He said, this might be Ibn Ziyad's police, might be his soldiers. So he had to ask, who is this? Who are you? What are you doing here? And the person says, Ana Baridul Hussein. I'm a messenger from Hussein. And you see Habib runs towards the door. He says, my Mawla sent a letter for me. I have to run to it now. He opens the door, grabs this letter, begins kissing it, smelling it. This is his Mawla sending him a letter. We don't have time. If only you had the chance, look at this letter. Look at the way the Imam speaks with ihtiram and respect and love and adoration to his Habib. Right? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salaam alaykum, ya Habib. Ila rajulin faqih. You are this great man, this great scholar. Ya Habib, we are in need. We need your help. We are surrounded from all sides. Ajjal, run to us, hurry and help us, because we need your support. We need your assistance. Now Habib, his heart is breaking. He wants to go. And some poets and some narrators say that Habib was still unsure whether his wife was a supporter or not, so he wasn't sure what to do. So when his wife came and asked and said, what is this letter? What is happening? He says, Hussein ibn Ali sent a letter. He's surrounded by Ibn Ziyad, Umar ibn Sa'd's forces and soldiers. He's asking for me to go. His wife says, okay, so what are you going to do? What will you do? Habib is still not sure what to say. He says, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's difficult now. I don't know what's the right decision. As a test for his wife. You see, his wife angrily says, how dare you? The son of Zahra's calling you and you don't want to just run and go right away? Give me the letter, give me your sword, give me your horse. I'll go defend him. Habib says, no, this was just to make sure that we were on the same side. He says, remember that many other families, many other wives had abandoned their husbands just like this. I had to make sure that you were okay with me going out and giving my life for Hussein. He says, how could I not? Of course. He says, you must remain here and I will go out. So they say at the middle of the night, first he sent his horse to the outskirts of Kufa. Then he snuck out with some of his companions and servants, and they went out. They rode on their horse, and the 7th of Muharram, now all of a sudden, before, when the women, the children, there's very little morale in the camps of Hussein. Now you see, takbir, Allahu Akbar, everybody's screaming and shouting, everybody's happy. And some narrations say that Zainab was in her tent. And she asked Fidla, what is going on outside? What is happening here? Why is everybody, screaming like this? We haven't heard people like this in many days. She says, Fidla, go, see what's happening. And when she goes, she investigates, she sees that everyone is going and hugging Habib, right? This is, even though he's 75 years old, by many accounts, 75 in Karbala, the oldest one there, surrounded by all these youth. But Habib is there ready to give his life. She sees him hugging and embracing Imam Hussein. And Imam Hussein says, Habib, this is a wonderful sight to see you. He says, but you are an older person. This duty is not for you. If you want to relieve yourself, it's okay. And Habib tells, Ya Mawla, Ya Aba Abdullah. He says, when I see you, I become young again. This is what the love of Hussein does. He says, I'm a youth again. Oh, my age doesn't matter over here. When Fidda sees all of this, she runs back and tells Bibi Zainab. Says, Habib ibn Mudahir has come, and everyone is happy because of this, that now our reinforcements have come. We have help and assistance now. So Zainab says, pass my salams to Habib as well. So Fidda goes back and says, my master, my mistress Zainab sends her regards and salams to you. And this is where historians and poets think that perhaps this is where Habib begins slapping his face. He says, someone like the daughter of Ali is in a place like this? What has happened to the Muslim Ummah? How could the Muslims allow Zainab bint Ali to be in this sand, in this desert of Karbala, surrounded by enemies like this? What is wrong with us? What is wrong with me that we have allowed something like this to take place? How could this have happened? Now you see how Habib's mood changes here. Now we fast forward to the day of Ashura. Everyone who is a commander is given their orders. Abbas is the Alamdar. He is allowed to control the middle of the army. He's the Amir of the battle. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn is given control of the right wing of the army, the right flank. Habib is given control of the left. There's different accounts about how the battle went. But Habib was one of the first initial ones to go out in battle. Some say that he went out when Dhuhr was being performed on that afternoon. He went out and fought valiantly in battle. And when he fought in this battle, this is someone who, although feeling youthful because being re-energized by Imam Hussein, there's only so much he can take until he's struck by one of the enemy soldiers. He comes down, he falls off his horse. Perhaps he called out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Mawla. He calls out to his Imam and has his final moments with his Imam. That Habib and Imam Hussein are finally together again, and he breathes his final breaths there in Karbala. But meaning there's another story that I want to share for you when we end this Masaib, that some report as well. That when Habib had left, when he had left Kufa, he didn't just leave his wife, but he had a son that he had left behind as well too in Kufa. And after Karbala, when the women and children were taken prisoner, when the heads were put on spears of the shuhada and they were taken through the streets, now in Kufa, when all of this commotion is going on, the son of Habib, according to some, they say he hears this in the house because his father snuck out at night. He doesn't know what happened. He says, what is going on outside? So he goes outside and he begins to see these women. He says, I recognize some of these women. Why are they like this? Why are they in chains? Why are they tied up like this? He sees some of these other children. He says, why are children taken prisoner like this? Then he begins to see these heads on spears. He says, what is going on over here? His eyes begin to dart from place to place, looking at each and every head until he sees his own father's head on a spear. He says, Baba, why is your head on a spear like this? You left me? How could you leave me? And this is how you come back to me. And they say that Habib, the son of Habib, grabbed some of his friends. They attacked the soldier that was holding his father's head. He went and attacked the soldier. They took the head back. He sat down and began crying even more, holding this head close. He says, Baba, this is not the way that a father should treat his son. I shouldn't see you in such a state like this. This is not becoming. This is not how a father should behave with his son. I can't handle this gham and musibah. And this is where poets and historians remind us that Imam Sajjad is just a few steps away over here. And if we were there in Karbala, if we were there in Kufa, you and I would have told Habib, the son of Habib, be careful what you say. This might be very difficult for you to see your father like this, but look at those chains. Listen to this. As you see Imam Sajjad now there with chains on his wrists and chains on his neck, he's having to walk now from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. The whole time he's forced to look at the head of his father. He's forced to look at his women on camels and horses without saddles. He's forced to look at Shimr slapping his sister and his cousins and his nieces and his nephews over and over again. So the gharib is not you, O son of Habib. The gharib here is Imam Sajjad.
على لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. ماتم حسين.
بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، 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 تمہارے عشق کو میں ساتھ لے کے جاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
بچھاؤ فرش
ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، وہ جن گھروں میں ازاں خانہ حسین سجا، تو ان گھروں میں رہے گا صدا قیام میرا، یہ میرا وعدہ، یہ میرا وعدہ ہے ہر حال میں نبھاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
شبیہ جھولا اصغر سجائیں گے جو بھی، تو ان کی گودیاں خالی نہیں رہیں گی کبھی، میں ان کو صدقہ بے شیر دے کے جاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
علم بیاد علمدار جو اٹھائیں گے، دلیر اور وفادار ہوں گے وہ بچے، میں ان کو دل سے ہر ایک خوف کو مٹاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
تھی ایک بہن جسے ارمان رہ گیا تھا کبھی، جو ہو سکے تو سجا لینا ایک صحرا بھی، میں عشق فاطمہ صغرا نہ بھول پاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں
ضرور آؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
میرے حسین کا تابوت تو تعزیہ رکھ کے کرو گے گریہ و ماتم رہو گے نوحہ گئے، میں اپنے عشق سے تابوت وہ سجاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں
ضرور
آؤں گی،
بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی،
بتایا جعفر صادق نے ویسے ہی رونا، چھپا کے آنسو نہ شبیر پہ بکا کہنا، کروں گی میں بھی بکا عشق غم بہاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، تمہاری عشق کو میں ساتھ لے کے جاؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، بچھاؤ فرش ازاں میں ضرور آؤں گی، یا حسین،
Know the Hussein of your time, know the Yazid of your time, know the Hussein of your time, know the Yazid of your time, follow the Hussein of your time, confront
the Yazid of your time.
follow the Hussein of your time, confront
The
the
Yazid of your time.
Hussein, 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 Mawla. Hussein, 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 Mawla. Together, Hussein.
Hussein, Hussein, Mawla.
Know the Hussein of your time, know the Yazid of your time.
Know the Hussein of your time. Know the Yazid of your time.
Follow the Hussein of your time, confront the Yazid of your time.
Follow the Hussein of your time. Confront the Yazid of your time.
Protect the Hussein of your time. Fight off the Yazid of your time. Protect the Hussein of your time. Fight off the Yazid of your time. Hussein, 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 Mawla. Hussein, 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 Mawla.
Ya Hussein.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم يا أئمة المعصومين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة القائم بن حسن المهدي مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان الأمان الأمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره وجعلنا من خير أعوانه وأنصاره وشياعه والمستشهدين بين يديه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.